There we go. It's got a switch. Man, high technology here. Okay, I want to announce our soloist here to start with. That was a tune of mine called South Street Blues. That was Cameron Wall on piano. On bass trombone, that was Zach DeGuara. And on trumpet, Gabe Stein. Now, you may have noticed in your program that 3 out of 4 tunes are mine. It's not that I'm a narcissist. What it is that I programmed 4 tunes, one of them which is mine, we're going to play it later. But then I went to my office a couple weeks ago to get the charts. They were remodeling my jazz area, and they took away all of my music library, and I didn't know where it was. So I had a few charts at home of my own and a couple that were not mine. So that's the reason you're getting over Jarvis today, okay? Anyway, so that was a tune called South Street Blues. We're going to move on to a piece by a classic jazz composer, Sammy Nestico. He started out writing for the military bands, wound up doing a lot of movie music and TV music back in the 60s. Some of the shows we watched, like Streets of San Francisco and all that stuff. Anyway, Sammy was somebody who loved to write for young people, even though he was doing all these big famous things. And I was a publisher before I was a teacher, and we were his publisher. And a cool story about him is that he was guest conducting a junior high band. He loved writing for young people and wrote something that was accessible to them, that they could get at but learn from, and it wasn't too hard for them. Well, one time they were doing this tune. This actual chart is from the Count Basie library, who he wrote for, and tears came to his eyes when he was listening to this junior high band play his music. And he turned back around to the band, and a little girl in the sax section said, "Did we sound that bad?" Anyway, this is called It's Oh So Nice. You're going to hear from Cameron Wall again and Chance Hopkins on trombone. It's Oh So Nice. How about those soloists, huh? Hey. Well, I hadn't planned on talking about this, but when I saw Chance playing with that plunger, it reminded me of one time when I went into Home Depot. I'm a trumpet player, and I wanted to get the perfect plunger because they're all different sizes, and the one I had didn't fit the bell. So I'm in there in Home Depot measuring plungers. Can I help you, sir? Guy's looking at me like I had three heads, and I said, no, I'm a trumpet player, and then he figured it out. But this guy must have been thinking, man, this guy really cares about his toilet. You know. So anyway, we're going to do a tune now that's got a little bit of a local connection to it. This is going to date me, I know, but when I was 23 years old, I played in a band at the Jersey Shore near Atlantic City, and a big hit came out by a new artist named Boz Scaggs. And for those of you that are locals, know he's got a winery in the Sonoma County. And one time a high school kid came in and said, hey, Mr. Skaggs, this guy wrote a tune about you. It's called Boz. I got a phone call later that day. He said, hi, this is Boz Skaggs. I said, come on, who is this? Really? And it was really him. So my next time I was up in the area doing some work at Sonoma State, I went over and visited his winery, and I said, yeah, I wrote this tune for you, and I put a couple of the horn lines from the tune Lowdown, which is 50 years old this year. That's hard to believe. And I said, but I only use 7 notes, because 8 notes becomes copyright infringement. He says, I don't care. So anyway, this is a tune called Boz, and I tried to capture a little bit of the feeling of his music. You're going to hear from Cameron Wall again on piano. You'll hear from Barun Shaw on tenor saxophone, and also on tenor, you'll hear from Nico Drew. This is Boz. I only wish Boz was here to hear that. I really do. But anyway, you know, I was just thinking about when they were playing that tune. This is a little fun fact for you, for the people that remember Boz Scaggs. The people that were the session musicians on Lowdown, wound up enjoying. They were all guys that did a lot of studio work in LA, but they had never worked in that configuration before. So they said, we ought to start a band. It's called Toto. I think a few of you remember that, you know, Rosanna and Africa and all that. So anyway, they met all recording that tune Lowdown that this was supposed to be an homage to. Okay, for our last tune here, before we do this is a tune of mine called Blues and More, because it's blues, but it's got a little extra form to it. But before I do that, being my first year here, I really want to extend a huge thank you to the administration and the staff that have made me feel so welcome and helped me out. Like, you know, first time up here, I had a million questions, and they got a lot of emails. How do I do this? How do I do that? How do I drive on a dirt road that only goes in one direction? Things like that. And they were just really great about it. They made me feel very welcome. Like I said, I've done a lot of camps over the years, but there's something very special going on here. And I think all of you realize it, because I have never run into such a nice bunch of people. So as we're in this beautiful place where all these wonderful things grow, you really grow nice kids here too. You know that? Really nice. They've been a pleasure to work with, and I thank all of you. Let's give them a big round of applause. I mean, these guys have worked so hard. At the end of an hour and a half rehearsal, which we did 2 of per day, after listening to me tell you, you did this wrong, do this way, don't do it that way, do this, do that, and at the end of the day, what do? I hear a chorus of thank yous at the end of the rehearsal. That shows what kind of people these are. At my university, I say, great rehearsal, guys. They go, yeah, whatever. So, anyway, this tune is called Blues and More. You're going to hear from Shigel Hergenrather on alto sax, Xavier Sweeney on trombone, and Zen Langford on baritone sax. Thank you to all these great young musicians. It's been my honor to work with you, and thank you for supporting them.
Jack Jarvis and the High School Week 1 Jazz Band. Nice job, folks. We'll be right back.